Okay, I'm just gonna say it. The worst dreams to have is the one where you're losing your teeth. Random, I know, but it's literally just holding on by a gummy thread, and it feels so weird. Like there's no pain, just pressure. It's interesting. But I've heard in some cultures that actually means something. What does it mean in the culture that you grew up in when you have a dream of losing your teeth? Don't be afraid. Comment in the comment section. But you know why I brung it up? It's because I have a story to tell. And it does involve teeth. So if you're a little sensitive with your teeth, I would skip this one if I were you. But honestly, this is going to be a good one. And on that note, let's begin. I was 7 when I lost my first tooth. All my friends were talking about the money the tooth fairy had left them. I felt jealous. A boy even tried lying to me, saying his mom had put money under his pillow. I remember laughing my butt off after he left. How stupid is he? I thought. He thinks his mom is the tooth fairy? I bet his mom can't even fly. One day, I was on the playground at school playing tag with Tim, Doug, and Haley. I tagged Doug and sprinted back towards the huge spiral slide at the center of the playground. I was stepping on the ladder when I felt Doug's hand on my back. I was so surprised that I forgot that my right foot wasn't on the ground. I turned and went face first into the ladder's handrail. I didn't feel pain, but I could taste metal in my mouth. It was a new taste, so I had no idea that my mouth was bleeding. My teeth felt like they were still vibrating. I tried to use my tongue to stop the annoying rattle. Then I felt it go through the space where my front left tooth should have been. I felt dizzy and scared. Then I looked down and saw a white rectangle on the ground. My hands were shaking as I picked it off the moist wood chips. I stared at the bloody tooth for several seconds, not realizing what it was until I heard Haley shout, "Tommy lost his tooth!" I remember running up the small hill where the teachers watched, yelling, "Yes, I lost it! Holy smithereens!" I know that doesn't make sense, but I heard it while watching Looney Tunes. As soon as the school bus pulled up to my house, I ran to my room, passing my mom and saying as quickly as my mouth could move, "Lost my tooth, going to sleep!" I hit my knee on the door frame, wincing but not stopping. I limped to my bed and jerked my pillow up. I pulled the plastic bag out of my backpack, opening it enough to allow the tooth to spill out onto my hand. I caught the tooth between my thumb and index finger, delicately placing the tooth so that it would align up perfectly with the wall. I threw the pillow back down, climbed under the covers, and closed my eyes. I could see my heart beating behind my eyelids, creating a squiggly line with each beat. "She only comes at night," my mom said, now leaning on the door frame. "What?" I whined. "Yep. Because that's when you're supposed to sleep, silly. She doesn't want you to see her." "Why?" I asked. "Is she ugly?" "No, she's just shy." "What will she do if I see her?" I asked curiously. "She probably won't visit next time you lose a tooth." That day felt like the longest day of my life. I sat in the kitchen with a Spider-Man comic, paying more attention to the clock on the stove than the comic. Around 7, my mom laid dinner on the table. I wolfed it down without tasting the meatloaf and mashed potatoes. It felt funny as the potatoes mashed through the gap where my tooth should have been, but it didn't slow my pace at all. I swallowed the last green bean as my father was taking his third bite. "You weren't very hungry, were you?" he asked. "What? I ate it all, Dad," I said, pointing to my plate as he were almost blind. "I see that," he said, laughing. "Mom said you lost a tooth today." "Yeah, I'm gonna get $100 tonight, probably." $100? Sheesh. When I was a kid, I only got a quarter. "Don't worry," she said. "Back in your dad's day, the man on the quarter was still alive." Ha ha ha, you're so funny. Sure, is it bedtime yet? I asked in a joyous manner. Sure, Mr. Eager Beaver. But first, come and give me a goodnight hug. I ran towards her and wrapped my arms around her. She leaned down and kissed my cheek. When she was near my ear, she whispered, "Remember, don't look at her." I climbed into bed, not forgetting to turn the Scooby-Doo nightlight on before I hopped in. When I was laying in bed, I raised my pillow to check on the tooth. It was still there. I flipped the pillow over to its cool side and rested my head on it. Of course, I couldn't sleep. I laid there for what I'm guessing was 2 hours. I was about to cry, knowing that no sleep meant no tooth fairy. No tooth fairy meant no money. No money meant I was never going to be able to save for the Stone Cold Steve Austin action figure go along with Triple H, currently the lonely occupant of my Royal Rumble ring. I felt like not getting the action figure was only making me sad. I felt like Triple H was getting lonely and bored fighting Invisible Ric Flair and Invisible Sting. Suddenly, I felt myself dozing off. Then I heard the window slam open. The sound was so sudden, so quick, that my entire body flinched. I squeezed my eyes closed as tightly as possible. Don't you dare look, I thought to myself. I felt the cold air drift into the bottom of my feet, which I then realized weren't covered up. I didn't dare pull them under the covers and give up the illusion that I was asleep. Then I heard my mom and dad talking in the hallway, their voices coming closer to my room. $10? I heard my dad ask, his voice muffled through the walls. When I was a kid, I only got a quarter. So you've mentioned, I heard my mom say. Keep quiet, you'll wake him. I'll give you a quarter to go away. Fine, my dad said. Remember the door squeaks, open it slowly. No, I screamed in my mind. Please don't come in, Mom. She's here, I could feel her hand under my pillow. It lingered for a moment, fingers shifting, trading the tooth for money, and gently raising my pillow from the mattress. I heard static in my ear, like a TV with bad reception. Then I heard my mom crack the door. That's when I heard my mom scream. I heard her footsteps patting the floor, moving back the way she came. Daniel, I heard her scream. I didn't hear my dad answer. I felt something shoot by the back of my head, out the door, raising my hair with a sharp wind. Stay away from me, my mom screamed. I heard a loud thud as she fell. Then I heard something that sounded like someone stepping on a light bulb. I found out later that it wasn't a light bulb. It was my mom's spine. Then I heard nothing for a few minutes. I kept my eyes shut as my dad ran into my room. Wake up, Thomas. Thomas, we have to leave. He was screaming in my ear. Still, I held them shut. There's something here. He had lifted me a couple of inches when I heard the static again. It grew in volume until it was deafeningly loud. I plopped back down on the bed. My dad let out what sounded like a long sigh and fell on top of me. I laid there for several seconds, unable to breathe. She pulled him off me and onto the floor. I felt her fly past me towards the window. Then the static disappeared, and I heard the window slam shut. I didn't open my eyes again until I woke up the next morning. I could barely breathe as I threw my pillow into the floor. It landed on my dad, who was now missing both eyes. I felt like I was going to explode with happiness when I saw the $10 bill resting on my bed. My mind was racing, thinking of all the possibilities. I could afford Stone Cold and maybe even another. Was I going to get The Rock? Maybe Sting? Bret Hart? I held the money up to the light. I could hardly believe it. Then I remembered my dad laying in the floor. I looked down at him, his empty eye sockets. I immediately felt pity for him. Poor Dad. Mom said not to look.